Hey everybody, I'm Steve. I'm an alcoholic in recovery. This video is going to be about my experience with Step 11 in the 12 Steps of Recovery. Step 11 says, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. The suggested reading for Step 11 in the Big Book is pages 85 to 88 in the Big Book, and of course Step 11 in the 12 and 12. So prayer and meditation. I'll break this down into two different pieces. We'll talk a little bit about my experience with prayer first. Prayer to me is communication from me to my higher power. I tend to pray repeatedly throughout the day, asking for guidance, for clues, also giving thanks. But my main prayers, if you watched my Step 2 video, you will recall that at the very beginning of my spiritual journey, it was as simple as in the morning when I got up, I hit my knees at my bedside and asked my higher power to keep me away from a drink and a drug for that one day. And then at night, when I went to bed, crawling into bed, I'd hit my knees again and give thanks to my higher power for keeping me away from a drink and a drug for that one day. And that is my communication to God, and that's where it started. And I still do that to this day, over 10 years later. I'm still on my knees in the morning, getting out of bed, praying for help and guidance, and then at night, getting into bed on my knees, praying to give thanks. It's longer now, though. I am asking for help about more things, and I'm giving thanks for more things. But those are still how I bookend my day. So prayer, my communication to God. One of the pitfalls that people run into with prayer, particularly when they first start praying, is praying for specific outcomes. Like, dear God, please help me win the lottery, or please make my boss who I hate die in a fiery bus crash, or what have you. Praying for specific outcomes, and when they don't transpire the way you prayed about, you might say, well, there's no God because He didn't let me win the lottery. I'm using an extreme example, but when you pray for specific outcomes, it's almost as if you're trying to tell God what you think the situation should be, and actually you're not the one that has that control. Your higher power has that control, and your higher power will decide how things are supposed to unfold. So that's a pitfall that people can fall into with prayer, is praying for specific things that turn out to not be God's will, and so they don't transpire, and they get discouraged, and they think, well, there's no God, He didn't give me what I wanted. So I personally don't do that. If I do get specific in my prayer, I suffix it with the phrase, if it be thy will. I'll have some, usually it's well-being. Like if someone is sick and I want them to be well, and it's my hope for them to be well, I'll say, God, please watch over such and such, and if it be thy will, help them get well. So that's part of my practice. But typically what I pray about when I'm praying is around help and guidance. Show me the signs, show me the clues. If I'm faced with some perplexing situation or some upsetting situation, I'm praying for help and guidance. Show me some signs and some clues of how I'm supposed to proceed in this situation, if I'm confused or if I'm overwhelmed. Particularly if I'm at a big crossroads in my life where I've got a big decision to make. This actually happened to me recently, and I pray for guidance. Show me the signs, God, of what your will is for me right here. Am I supposed to go this way, or am I supposed to go that way? And I get the clues. And hopefully, more often than not, I tend to follow those clues and go the way that I feel that my higher power is trying to steer me. But sometimes selfishness can kick in, and I can pray for help and clues and get the clues and not go in the direction of the clues and still go down my own self-seeking, selfish road and get burned every time. That's how I know I'm still a little bit crazy, because I can still get the signs and the clues from my higher power, but not obey them. It's like, no, God, I've got this one under control. I can see that you're kind of pointing out that I should go that way, but I'm going to go this way because I deserve it. And I get burned every time. So it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but that still happens once in a while. So that's prayer, and books have been written about it, and I could certainly go on longer about it, but that's kind of the core of it for me, how I communicate with my higher power. Now, meditation, sought through prayer and meditation. In my experience, there's not a whole lot of talk about meditation in the halls of recovery, in meetings and stuff, but it has been a huge tool for me and been really transformative for me, particularly in the past few years in my journey of recovery. Meditation, again, books have been written, volumes have been written, but the crux of it is that my suffering, any suffering that I have, is created in my own human mortal brain. And it's usually created by some self-centered fear, some manifestation of self-centered fear. And, I've got the story of me going on, and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and I've got fears about the future. What if this and what if that? And boy, I shouldn't have done this. And all this crazy story of me, thought machine stuff going on that causes suffering. And meditation is a tool that I use to quiet that down, to take that thought machine and kind of lower the volume on it and get still and focus on my breath and just kind of feel my aliveness and what have you, and just get still, quiet my mind. And what that allows for is that maybe my higher power can get a word in edgewise. Meditation is an opportunity for me to receive communication from my higher power, because if I can quiet my thought machine down just enough, I might feel an inspiration that comes from someplace deeper, get an idea that seems to come out of nowhere, and some kind of inspired thought or some kind of inspired idea that can come to me from my higher power only if my thought machine is not on screech. So it's been very helpful, and it's an ongoing journey. Meditation is, again, it's a big topic. It's a powerful tool. And to summarize, prayer is my communicating to the universe, which is what I call my higher power. And meditation is quieting my mind enough so that the universe might be able to communicate back with me in the form of an inspiration, an idea, or what have you. Very powerful stuff, obviously, prayer and meditation. And this is a great example of a step that's not a cut and dried, like you do it and you're done. Step 11 is an ongoing journey. And hopefully for me, it's going to continue being a journey for the rest of my life. Especially the meditation part of it, because I've got a pretty regular prayer routine, and I feel like I pray regularly, and it tends to happen pretty much automatically and regularly. But meditation is something that the more I do of it, the more benefits I get from it. And it's called a practice, a meditation practice, because quieting the mind can be quite challenging. But like playing piano or what have you, the more I practice it, the better I get at it. So my hope is to practice it more and more as I go on in my journey, because it's extremely helpful. So that's a small piece of my experience with prayer and meditation. Thanks.